Hello, welcome to the Femafricmaths channel, and we are excited about today's interview. It's in a series of AIMS Ghana students who have graduated, and we are happy to have you on our channel. Welcome, and we'd like you to start by introducing yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Margret Tembo from Zambia. Yes.
What's your career been in mathematics? What's your background in? What have you studied so far in mathematics?
Okay, so during my undergrad, I did mathematics with education, but that's not what I wanted to do. Initially, I didn't even think at any point I would find myself doing something like that, anything to do with numbers. Though I loved mathematics in secondary, but it's not something that crossed my mind that I should do after secondary. The only thing that was on my mind when I was growing up was to be a doctor. If not, then I should end up being a nurse. Looking at my other relatives who are in the Ministry of Health, the only thing that was on my mind was that even me, I should also be a nurse or a doctor, someone to work in the Ministry of Health. But after I completed my secondary school, I applied in different nursing schools. I was rejected in some, then I was accepted in some schools. But before I could go, you find that something will just come up. I will not go. Then later on, I applied to go to the university. When I applied, I went there. I had an opportunity to do the nursing which I wanted at a degree level. But still, I didn't feel so comfortable at doing it. And I just changed my mind that maybe I should do something to do with mathematics. Once while I was there, I think I started loving it. And though I thought some people would not support me, but my mother and my sisters, they were like, oh, go for it. If you think you can do it, then we'll support you. Just go for it. And I went for it. Though in the first year, yes, the first semester was okay because we were just being introduced to the A levels of mathematics. And I enjoyed it. But later on, you'll be like, what am I doing? Why did I have to come here? Maybe I just have to go back to the nursing that I wanted. But I still stayed there, and one of my lecturers would be like, oh, don't worry, you can be you can be the best that you want to be, and you can actually do this. It's actually interesting and very nice. You don't have to struggle, you don't have to stress yourself, you just have to know the concept and master it. That's all. And I loved it from there until I finished it. After that, I was at home, then I thought of applying to AIMS Ghana, and when I applied, I was picked. So when I came to AIMS Ghana, I was like, oh wow, I'm going to do mathematics. Even when I came, I was like, oh okay, so which mathematics am I going to do? But on my mind was, I'm going to do mathematics. And when I came to AIMS, it's not what I thought I'll be doing when I came here, but when I came to AIMS, I was introduced to different things, different ideas, different concepts that I didn't know I would actually learn at this level. So I learned something in applied mathematics, pure mathematics, something in physics, even the computing courses. And when I came telling me you'll be doing Python, I was like, oh my god, what is this Python? Is it that we'll now be looking at the snake and be like, oh, and I was like, Python? I've never even heard of Python, but how is it going to be? But later on, we started getting ideas, and after that, I got some concepts from it, some of which I even used part of my research. And coming from the background of mathematics, I didn't even know that at the master's level here at AIMS, I would do something related to physics. But at the end, I ended up doing something in physics and graph theory. And I loved it. And I liked the idea of being introduced to different areas in mathematics. So that even when you go out, you not just be like, you're only specialized in one field, but even when you're exposed to certain jobs, you'll be able to do something because you have the basics. All you have to do is to develop them. They've introduced us to the basics, but what are we going to do after the basics? Which is a very good thing that I appreciate from AIMS. And after that, I would love to continue with graph theory or data science. Since I now have the basics in data science, which I didn't know, I've done data visualization, I've done machine learning, introduction to machine learning, I've also done Python. So I've developed that interest in it. I would love to know more about it. So from here, I would love to be a data scientist or a graph theorist.
Wow,
Yeah.
great. Can you tell us a little about your AIMS research? You said it was in graph theory. In a minute, can you summarize it?
Okay, so my research was about combinatorics for electrical networks. So when I was told that combinatorics for electrical networks, like, what's this? What will I even be doing? Then when I read more on it, I was looking at graph theory. How can we apply graph theory in electricity, or rather in other fields? How can mathematics work together with physics? Because science, you cannot just make physics to be on its own. You cannot put biology on its own and say this is a branch that can stand on its own. But we realize that all the branches, you can put them together and they just support each other. So this is why we have to use graph theory. When you look at, let me give an example. When you look at power, the way it comes in each and every building, if you want to calculate the total resistance or the total current that is coming, you don't start moving from each room, checking out the amount of current that is coming at that point. You find that it will be something that is like, it's just too complicated for you to do it. But with the use of graph theory, you bring other ideas. How are you going to calculate the amount of current that is traveling, that is moving in a certain branch? If I say it's moving from the main source, maybe coming to this class, I consider it to be a branch. Then if it's going to the other one, I also consider it to be a branch. So that I'm going to consider the amount of current that will be flowing in each branch before I can consider the whole thing. Then apart from that, we also looked at squaring the square problem, which is the mathematical problem that has been existing, I think from 1920, where it came as a puzzle, which was on the Lady Isabella's casket, the lid, where people were asked to find out how many squares can you fit in the bigger square. So different scientists and mathematicians tried to solve that problem using different methods, but it was still difficult. And after solving it for a number of years, they could only go up to 7 squares, fitting them in one big square, until I think 4 students from the University of Cambridge, who were Smith, William, and the other 2, they had to look at that problem in relation to graph theory. Well, when you consider the first point which you have, then you look at that if it moves from that point to the other point, you try to connect with a branch. Then you say that, okay, if I can put this square and another square and another square down, then I calculate the total resistance together when I combine them. If I find that the total resistance is 1, then you're going to have an idea that, okay, what I'm going to get will be a square. Because from electricity, we know that when we calculate the total resistance of a square, it's going to give us 1, because voltage is equal current in that situation. So they also looked at it in that form. So they had to draw the edges from each square to the other one, the smaller ones which were inside. They draw the edges. Then after computing the total resistance, they now know what to be outside using the vertical side and the horizontal side. And they knew that if they get 1 to be the total resistance, they already have a square outside. If they don't get 1, then what they're going to have is not going to be a square. And it's helped by using graph theory to find the problem. And by now they can find, I think it's more than 1,000 squares that you can put in one square outside, just using the concept of graph theory without stressing, and also applying the Python code, where you just code it. You know the concept from graph theory, then you apply the code from Python, you just code it, then you know the number of squares which you get, and the problem is solved.
Wow, interesting. So you've learned about graph theory, you've acquired Python skills. What are you going to do with these?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like what should we expect from you now? Moving on, you now have your MSc in mathematical sciences. What should the world look out for?
Okay.
You.
Initially, what I want to do with the skills that I've acquired in graph theory as well as in Python, as I said earlier on, that I would want to do data science. Even if I go for data science, I would still want to use the concept of graph theory. How is it applied in data science? How can we use it in data science? How can we solve the real life situation problems? So that when you look at graph theory, it's like it relates, each and everything is put together. You have this point, it's related to the other, it's related to the other. So it's been in education. If I find myself in education, I find myself anywhere where I would work, I would still want to use the concept of graph theory to solve the real life situation problems. If I find myself maybe in a company, where they sell things, I'm still going to look at optimization, where I would find that, okay, if I fit this, maybe if I'm selling computers, I'm selling phones, I'm selling watches, I'll look at it, okay, so if I sell this, at what amount? So how many should I put together? And how am I supposed to relate them so that I can reach out to my customers?
Wow, interesting. So it seems you've really grown at Ames. And why did you choose mathematics? Like, because lots of people will not choose to do an MSc in mathematics or an undergraduate degree. So what was your motivation? Did someone inspire you, or what did you see that made you choose mathematics?
Okay, I think the first thing that I'll say is that I had self-motivation on my own, because I didn't really, at that time when I was thinking of mathematics, I didn't really see someone to inspire me in that field. But I've always had this thought in my mind, looking at my community where I come from. When I look at the people that are there, most of them, they are not in the field of science or anyone thinking of doing mathematics. And it's such a community where people have been telling you that as a woman, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. But I've always taught myself that I can still challenge myself to break that bridge which has been there, that a lady cannot do certain programs, a lady cannot do certain courses. But I've taught myself that, okay, so since they say no one can do it, I think if there is no one who has done it, or there is no one who can do it, it can start from me. I can start from somewhere and be somewhere by tomorrow. So that for me, who did not have anyone to inspire me, maybe I can be an inspiration to somebody else who will be coming. So it's on my self-motivation. After self-motivation, which I had on my own, that's when I've been motivated by other people.
Wow. So you are our first math queen from Zambia. Okay, so our vision is to inspire young girls about the diverse career options available when you study mathematics. And you mentioned that you didn't see anyone around you who was doing mathematics who could inspire you. But now with social media, you'll be out there and girls all over the world will see you. So what will be your final words to a young girl watching you? What will be your inspirational message to the person to encourage the person, even though they are struggling through mathematics? How would you inspire them to go on to do great things with mathematics?
One thing that I would say is that as long as you are determined and you have a goal that you want to achieve, you can always achieve that goal in life, regardless of the situation or the challenges. All you have to do is be determined, be focused, because you have a goal that you want to achieve at the end of everything. So sometimes, yes, it will be hard, it will be confusing, but still remain focused. If you remain focused and be willing to learn from other people, you eventually learn the concept. You struggle today, but tomorrow you get it. So today you may not be there, but remain focused. Sometimes you may not have anyone to inspire you or to motivate you, but motivate yourself. Think of it that every time it's you wants to make the change in the world. So, and if it's you wants to make the change in the world, you don't have to wait for someone to come and make that change for you, but it should always start with you. because you want to make the difference in your life before you can make it in the world and in your community.
Wow, thanks so much for honoring our invitation, and we look forward to sharing your story with the world. Bye.